I would rather earn 50,000 in dividend or investment income than salaried income. So here's an example of what investment income looks like for me. Your salary is the worst kind of income you could earn. Some people don't realize that there are different options when it comes to making an income. So in this video, I'm going to break down precisely why a salaried income is keeping a lot of people stuck and how you can start shifting towards an income type that will enable you live the life you want. And don't worry, this video isn't about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about thinking differently. The education system is set up to train you on how to be a good worker, how to be a good employee. And there is little focus on how to actually make money outside of a salary. We are taught to spend our childhood and our early adult years learning things that frankly, sometimes we never use again. And then in our 20s, we are gifted the grand prize of working for the next 40 years. Now, don't get me wrong. Having a job is a blessing. And I'm not for 1 second suggesting that you quit your job. I often say this, your income will be the primary source of funds or capital towards building your wealth. What I am saying is do not stay on this income hill forever. Move on to other types of income, because there is another aspect of having a job that school does not teach us. When I worked in investment banking, I went on several professional and self-development courses. And one of the most powerful things I discovered is that your income from your salary is the worst kind of income you can earn. And yet this is predominantly, or maybe even the only type of income that school encourages us and teaches us to go after. There are 4 main types of income. The first is your salary income or earned income. If you have a job and you receive a paycheck at the end of every month, you make your money through earned income. Now, this includes wages, bonuses, commissions, tips, and other types of taxable employment compensation. It's a very simple equation. You sell your time to your employer, oftentimes for a fixed amount, but if you're lucky enough, perhaps for a negotiated amount. But the amount that you earn does not go up by a lot every single year, especially if you factor in the effects of inflation. So your real income is either stagnant or rises by a tiny amount every year. And this type of income pretty much stops when you stop working. The next kind of income is investment income. This is money that you earn from investments or owning assets. So for example, the interests that you get on bonds, the dividends that you get from dividend-paying stocks, or even capital gains from selling your investments and other types of investment returns. The third type of income is business income. And quite simply, this is money that you earn from owning and operating a business. And there is also a fourth category of income, which sometimes falls under business or investment income. And that is passive income. So for example, rentals from real estate, royalties from books, music, or patents, and even income from running a business that you own but you do not operate. And out of these 4 types of income, salaried or earned income is the worst type of income you can earn. And that is because it is taxed at the highest rates, it is the most time consuming to earn, and it pretty much stops when you stop working. And obviously, these 4 types of income each have their pros and their cons, but I wanted to focus on 2 main differences between them. The first is taxation treatment. Salaried income is how most people make their living. It's also why people are considered poor, working class, or even middle class. But most people fall into this category not necessarily because of how much they earn, and best believe that there are individuals making 6-figure salaries that cannot survive 3 months without a job. So no, it's not about how much you earn. Instead, it's about how much you get to keep. The biggest expense that you will have in your lifetime is not your mortgage, it's not your bills, it's your taxes. And salaried or earned income has the highest taxes out of all of these 4 types of income. And this is because typically tax laws favor or give better treatment to investment income as well as business income. As of today, the highest tax rate is 45%. And also remember, your personal tax-free allowance of $12,570 as of this tax year starts to shrink the minute your earnings hit £100,000. And on top of that, you still have to pay your national insurance contributions, which is similar to Social Security and Medicare in the US. Imagine that. 45%. You're basically working close to 6 months every year just to pay taxes. Now, I don't mind paying my fair share of taxes, and I think most people will agree with this. But my goodness, must you tax me to breathe? And also remember that as you advance in your career and you start to earn more, the more taxes you have to pay. So for example, using the 45% tax rate, if you got a pay rise of £50,000, you can kiss 22,500 of that goodbye in taxes. And this is exactly why the rich keep getting richer. They aren't buried in salaried income like you and I. They enjoy much lower tax rates through business and investment taxes, which moves me nicely into how investment income is taxed. When it comes to dividends, you get an incredibly generous tax-free amount of £500. That used to be £2,000. And so any additional dividend amount you make after your tax-free allowance is taxed according to your tax bracket. So what this essentially means is that most people will be paying between 8.75% and the higher tax rate of 33%. I would rather earn 50,000 in dividend or investment income than salaried income. And that is all down to the way the tax code treats investment income. Now, if you come to sell your shares or your assets and you make profits, you most likely have to pay what's called capital gains tax. Prior to October 2024, the range for capital gains tax was between 10 to 20%. That has now been increased to 18 to 24%. But the good news is that you still get a tax-free allowance of $3,000 before any taxation is incurred. And this is how the rich make most of their money, through investment income like dividends, interests, and capital gains. Now, the main takeaway is this. Of course, taxes are a little bit convoluted, but if most of your income comes from investment income as opposed to earned or salaried income, you get to keep a lot more. And that is because of the favorable tax treatments that investment income gets over salaried or earned income. And it gets even better when it comes to business income. As of today, the corporation tax rate for businesses that make lower than 50,000 is 19%. Anything above that attracts a 25% tax rate. Secondly, and very importantly, businesses pay taxation on income after expenses. So you will often hear company executives talking about their company's EBIT, earnings before interest and taxation, or their operating income. And what this means is that companies take their gross revenues, or their gross income, if you will, minus the cost of products or the cost of goods that they sell, and then they take off their operating expenses. This is completely opposite to how you and I pay taxes as employees. As an employee, you get your gross income, then you're taxed on that gross income, and then you have to live on what's left over. And this is also why a lot of people prefer to operate on the limited companies or LLCs, because you can reduce your taxes by claiming all available business expenses that you're allowed to, things like your laptop, using a room in your house as a working space, etc. And you can also reduce your business taxation by paying yourself. And even though investment as well as business income is far superior to earned or salaried income, school does not teach you this. You need to go out there and get the information for yourself. The second difference between all four types of income is time. Earned income is the most time dependent out of all four types of income. And that is because you are trading your time for money. Once you stop working, the income stops as well. For the average worker, your income is capped, unless of course you take on extra shifts or you get promoted. But even at that, your hourly rate is capped and your annual salary increase is also capped. Now compare this to investment income that comes in whether or not you're working. It's not dependent on your time. Or even compare it to business or passive income that flows if you have a good structure in place and your business is one that has a lot of demand. Or if you hire good people to run the business for you, you can use your time for other things. And with business income, there is unlimited upside. Granted, it is probably the most risky out of all four types of income. Investment income is even more passive than business income, because once you've invested in the financial markets, you only have to sit back and watch your dividends or your interests come in. So if you own dividend paying funds or stocks, for example, you earn dividends as long as you hold the asset. And if you decide to sell that asset and you've made a profit, you get taxed at a lower rate than your salaried income. So here's an example of what investment income looks like for me. I've set up my portfolio in such a way that I earn income from different investment types every single month. And this is money that I earn earn in my sleep and I don't have to trade my time to earn. The key here is to think about how you can convert your salaried income into investment or passive or even business income. Even if you are taking a portion of your salary, let's say 1,000 every single month, and invest in that into a savings account at 4.5%, at the end of 5 years, you will have 68,500, of which 7,500 is interest earned. And the reason that I am fortunate enough at this stage in my life to be retired from a 9 to 5 job or to be work optional is that I was quietly investing a huge chunk of my income when I realized that depending on my earned or salaried income alone would most likely mean I had to work till I was well into my 60s. If you need a few ideas on how to get started with investing with perhaps £1,000 or dollars, I made a very simple and easy to follow video on 10 ways you can invest $1,000. And you can watch this video next here. That's it for this video. I hope it has been helpful. And if you do have any more insight on this topic, I would love to hear it. Please leave it in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video. Look after yourselves. Bye for now.